it was about an 8-hour flight from Atlanta to Manchester, and there's the Preston MTC there, so I went to the Preston MTC. And I remember getting there, and it was raining. It does rain a lot in England. I love the rain now. I don't think I was too big of a fan of it before, but since being home, it rains on me. I just have to smile just because I love it so much. But so we got there, got out of the airport. It's raining, a little bit overcast, and the cars being on the other side of the road were just, whoa, what's going on? And they all the cars, they have all sorts of different brands and different cars there. They look like, I remember saying to everybody there, it looks like alien cars. They look so different. And so the cars being on the other side of the road, the stoplights are different. There's roundabouts, and so that was really like the drive from the airport to the MTC. Like, I just remember thinking a lot about the traffic and the cars. Then I got to the MTC, and I mean, you're around a lot of Americans, but there's so many different cultures there at the MTC as well. So England itself is extremely diverse. They call America the melting pot, but it's nothing even close to England. I mean, it's amazing how diverse it is. And also the missionary force is extremely diverse there as well. So being in the MTC, there's missionaries from all over the world. I had missionaries from Africa, from India, from America, from England, from Germany. There's an elder from Moldova. I'd never even heard of Moldova before going to the MTC, and so it was extremely multicultural just in the MTC as well. The bathrooms were a little different as well. I don't know why that just stands out to me. The bathrooms the toilets look different. That's another. Oh, I didn't talk about this in the language, but that's something else. They always say toilet. They never say the bathroom. If you need to go to the bathroom, you got to go to the toilet. And whenever I first got there, I had a Welsh companion, and I found it extremely crass for him to say that. I was like, can't you say bathroom? Like, come on. But I picked it up, and about 2 or 3 months later, I was saying toilet too. That's just because that's what they say there. Anyways, other things that first impressions. They play a lot of football there, or soccer. We played that in the MTC quite a bit, and that was a lot of fun. But then getting into the field, really, because that's when I really got to get to know England. Trains, there's so many trains there. That's how people get from city to city. People have cars, but not nearly as many as they do in the U.S. So a lot of people don't have cars, and they just walk or take the public transportation. There's a lot of buses, and again, I got out into the field, and it was so diverse. The first person I contacted in the field was a man from India. I think he looked like he was from India. Then other than that, yeah, I guess that's kind of some first impressions from the mission. When I first got there was about 140 missionaries. Throughout my time there, actually the age change happened, and we grew to 240 missionaries, which is really awesome. There's 8 stakes in the mission, and 8 zones. So every stake has its own zone. Most stakes have 7 to 9 units in them. The wards, there are full-size wards, but there's also a lot of wards that are a little bit smaller as well. I would say the average ward there probably has about 100 to 120 members. I served in a ward with 60. My first area was like 60 to 70 people in Newport, Wales. And then I've served in multiple areas, with one with 180, one with 200 as well. But I would say about average is 100 to 120. Other than that, there's not too many cars in the mission. Most of the missionaries are biking. Some of the sisters walk. I would suggest to get a bike. Bikes are awesome. They're a great way to get from place to place quickly as you need, but if you have time, they're great for finding, because you can go talk to people a little bit quicker. So a lot of bikes on the mission. There's probably about 10 or 15 cars, and most of the zone leaders have cars, and sister training leaders. And other than that, there's not really any cars in the mission. There's no temples in the mission, sadly. So there's a temple in London, there's a temple in Preston, and so the whole time I was there, I wasn't able to go to the temple. There are some really cool church historical sites there, though. Gadfield Elm Chapel, which is the oldest functioning chapel that the church owns, is in our mission. Also, Bimbo's Pond, where a lot of the members that first were baptized in England came over. They were baptized in that pond. So some really incredible church history. A lot of the apostles have served in our mission. So Elder Holland served in our mission. Elder Quinton L. Cook, Elder Ballard. They were all not just in England, but in our mission, which is really neat. So. First holiday that comes to mind is Pancake Day. English pancakes are a little bit different. They're very similar to crepes, but they are different. It's just a holiday that's associated with a saint. So you just have this Pancake Day. That one's kind of fun. They have Boxing Day. That's also different. That's the day after Christmas, and people do a lot of shopping on Boxing Day. Some do's and don'ts. Pants. There's also some words there that you shouldn't say, that are swear words there. So I guess I can say them now. Buddy, bugger. Don't say those. Those are very bad. As far as that, I mean, the culture it's different. There's a lot of walking, like I said. The city's just built differently. The landscape and the city planning is different, and so. That's something that's probably in my mind, that's the biggest difference, at least for missionaries, because as a missionary you're on the streets a lot, and so that makes a big difference. There's people walking around a lot, which is a good thing. And so other than that, I like nothing too big. There's not too big a difference, except for the fact that there are so many different cultures there. There's people from all around the world, and so you really get to know a little bit about everybody's culture, and nothing, because they are all in England. I guess maybe they don't hold you to the same standards as maybe they would in their own country, but you do get to have a feel for how they live, and that's something I loved about our mission, is that there's this, I got to teach people from Africa, from Asia, from India, from this is from South America even. At what point am I? At one point in my mission, I counted up the countries that I taught people from, and I had been out for about just around 14 or 15 months, and I think I taught people from 49 different countries. It's really, really awesome how many people there are. You hear a lot of bad things about English food, but what I found is that it's just not true. There's a lot of good food there, and a lot of it is because there's so many cultures there. So my favorite food there for sure was curry. I love curry, and you get fed, members will feed you curry pretty often, and I also learned how to cook curry when I was there. And then there's lots of other good Indian foods as well. So the Indian food there is awesome. The fish and chips are also very good. They're not very healthy for you, so you probably shouldn't eat them too often, but whenever we did have them, they were really good. It's just something really crazy. I don't know if you've heard of a Mars bar before. A Mars bar is like a Snickers bar kind of, but there's not really peanuts. It's just caramel and toffee and chocolate, and they fry Mars bars at their fish and chip shops, and wow. I only had one the whole time I was there because it was too much. It was tasty, but wow, it was loaded. It was really, really, really greasy. Other than that, a lot of times you'll get fed like a roast dinner. So like on a Sunday, they'll roast like some sort of meat, maybe chicken or beef or pork, and then you'll have a lot of steamed vegetables with it. So when it comes to this English food, it is true that can be somewhat bland. It's this, yeah, like I said, roast meat, steamed vegetables, and then they'll have a lot of gravy. It's good, but yeah, probably not as flavorful as some of the other foods. But there's such a mix there. A lot of Chinese food as well. That I ended up I like the food plenty good there. So they definitely talk differently, and you go across the country and they all talk differently from place to place as well. So I started out in Wales. They kind of have a little bit of a sing-songy accent, and you go over to Lincoln. I went over to Lincoln. It's on the east coast, near Nottingham, and again, different accent. You go to Birmingham, and there's like 15 different accents just in the city of Birmingham. And to be honest, when I first got over there, when I was speaking on the telephone, I hated talking on the phone. I hated it. My trainer would always give me the phone, and we'd go every other day, and I struggled to understand what people said on the phone. What? So talking on the phone was a little bit difficult, but whenever you could see their lips, it wasn't a problem. It wasn't a problem. Besides just the phone, and eventually I got used to that as well. So, but it's a lot of fun. All the accents are fun. I did not pick up an accent when I was there. A lot of people asked me if I did, and I guess I'm just too American. But to be honest, what I found is that a lot of missionaries that had an accent, it was a little bit contrived. They wanted to pick up the accent, when I guess I wasn't really focused on that. So rubbish is garbage or trash, and that's a term that I still use today. Rubbish is something, and it's also just to say something that's rubbish. You kind of, it's an expletive maybe a little bit as well. And then also pants are underwear. So that's one that it took me a little bit while to remember, get used to. On this, we in order to find people, a lot of times you just go out and try to contact them on the street. You just out on your bikes and you go talk to people, and you're searching for anything you can say to talk to this person, just to stop them. And so I complimented people on their pants a number of times, and got a couple of weird looks because of it. Eventually, I did get used to it. And it's actually trousers. So what we would call pants are trousers there. So brilliant. People say brilliant a lot. There's all sorts of terms. I don't know any other ones that are super common or that would come up a lot. But that's one I would definitely warn people of, is pants. It's trousers. One of the first things that I saw whenever I got to the mission was we had a big bookshelf, and there was books of Mormon from every different language. We probably had 50 different languages on our shelf, and so you go out and you talk to everybody you can. And so, you see, a man from England, and you go talk to him, and the next person you talk to is from Africa, and the next person you talk to is from China, the next person you talk to is from Ghana, the next person you talk to is from Iran, and I mean, you just talk to everybody you can, everybody you see, and what ends up happening, they invite you back to teach them, and yeah, they have different beliefs and different mindsets, and you kind of just have to learn to run with it on the fly. And so I taught a lot of people from China. There's a lot of young adults there that are there for university. It was an incredible experience to teach them. And to be honest, I taught an English person different than I would a person from China, because they had a different background, they had different values. I would focus much more at the beginning on Jesus Christ, because they didn't even know who Jesus Christ was. Teach them who God was. You teach them how to pray, and so you have to learn to mold your teaching to the different backgrounds. Where I feel like if I served in a different country where it was more uniform, I would just be teaching the same way every single time. And so teaching somebody from India as well, totally different. They have different beliefs because they're a lot of times Hindu background. And so it was really interesting to get to know each culture and their beliefs and the goodness from each of them. They all have great aspects, and they're all such good people. And whenever I run into people here now that are from maybe Nigeria or from India or from Lithuania, it's awesome because I have a love for them just as much as I have a love for the English people, because I was able to teach them and interact with them, and I have people that I love so much over there in England. Now, as for me, I spoke English, and you pick up phrases from every different language. So people love to hear something, from a greeting from their own language or something that stops them. They say, "What? Oh, he's speaking my language. I want to talk to him." And it's a great way to interact with them. And so I probably know several phrases from 20 languages, maybe something like that, where I could just stop them on the street and then. But most people speak English. There are some that there are a lot of people from Poland there that didn't speak very much English. There are people from maybe Portugal that didn't speak a ton of English, and we have Portuguese-speaking missionaries there. We had a missionary from Poland actually that spoke Polish, and again, maybe that's why our mission is so diverse, is so people could hear the gospel in their own language. But most people, for the most part, speak English, and if you can have a few phrases to interact with them, that's awesome. But you'll be able to teach them in English, and it's really cool to be able to interact with all of them. Before I went on my mission, we had some people over to an open house, and people give you advice, and I feel like people just kept on telling me, make sure you're obedient, make sure you're obedient, make sure you're obedient. What, you think I'm a rebel or something? I didn't understand, but man, was that great advice. And I guess I'll just echo it, what I was told. Obedience is paramount, and it's all in the little decisions, and then as you're obedient, you qualify yourself for the Spirit, and you're showing the Lord how much you value His counsel and His direction, so that's the first thing. The second thing, and again, I'll go, try to put myself in my shoes before I went on my mission, and I just think about people would say how missions are hard. I wouldn't understand. What do you mean missions are hard? I thought, well, first of all, I thought, you go to the MTC, they sprinkle some magic dust on you, and you become like a perfect robot, and you kind of get in a time machine, and then all of a sudden you're back, because people talk about how fast their missions go by and things. And that was totally a misunderstanding, obviously. It's real. That happens. You live every moment of it. And I'll be honest, sometimes it feels like, wow, I'm going to be out here for forever. There was no life before. There's not going to be life after. Like, this is life. And so, but again, so people said missions are hard, and I didn't understand. You go around and you teach people the gospel. You talk to people, and what's so hard about that? But don't make the same mistake I made. A mission is hard. It was the hardest thing I ever did. But it was also the best thing. Truly the best thing. And those were the two things that made my mission this so wonderful and so worth it. It was the obedience and hard work. And there will be days where you're frustrated and you're sad, and you might even miss home a little bit. But then you move on, you press forward, you go and talk to the next person. You become to live outside yourself. And when I first went on my mission, I went because I loved people. I had a lot of friends back home that I loved, and I wanted them to have the gospel, and I would have done anything for them to have the gospel. But right now I've been called to serve the people in England, and I knew that the Lord had people out there that were great people, and that if I was willing to work my guts out for my friend that I love so much back home, that I should be willing to work for them. And so that's what I did. And so, that's a good thing. It's a good thing to want to work for people. But the turning point of my mission was whenever I learned that I needed to work for the Lord. I came to a point on my mission where it was really probably the turning point of my life. I wanted to serve the people, obviously, and I felt like I was doing everything I could, and that things weren't happening the way I wanted them to happen. And I was broken down. The Lord had broken me down. He'd humbled me, and I was praying, and I prayed for a long time, and I didn't see an angel. I didn't hear the voice of the Lord. But at the end of that prayer, I had one thought, and I know it's from the Spirit now. And that thought that came to my mind was, I don't know what I'm doing. Clearly, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll do it for you. And from that point forward, when I went out to work, and when I went out and gave my best effort, I did it because I knew the Lord wanted me to do it. And like I said, from that point forward, my mission changed. And I had a lot of great experiences before that, don't get me wrong. But truly, the windows of heaven were open at that point, and so many blessings came. It was truly awesome. So faith is when things are hard and not when they're easy. If things are this easy, if something's an easy decision, well, that doesn't really take faith to do it. You just do it, right? But it's when things are hard. That's when you truly have to show faith. That's when you have to show trust in the Lord. That's when you sacrifice your own will and you give it over to the Lord and you say, I'm going to do it because I'm trusting you. So it's when it's raining outside, when it's cold, when you've worked all day and you've talked to hundreds of people and you feel like, is what I'm doing, am I even doing any good? That's when your faith is tested. It's when you have a chance to question. And then you make the decision, you use your agency to continue on. And as you do that time and time and time again, your faith will grow. It'll become stronger. And you're qualifying yourself for the blessings of heaven. You're qualifying yourself to receive guidance from the Lord. And I know that as you do that, as you exercise your faith, you'll become the person that the Lord wants you to be, and you will reach out to His children. You will be able to touch their lives and bless their lives. And so, that's really, I guess the last thing I would want to share is that when you have the opportunities to show your faith, show it. And when you're being tested, recognize, hey, this is a chance for me to show my faith. And as you do that, you'll see miracles. There's two stories that I feel like I want to share. The first is about a woman named Louise Hadley. This story is really special to me because it really shows the importance of the Spirit in the work, and how truly it's God's work. It's not ours. And I'm very grateful for the experience. And so this was in my fourth area. My companion and I, it was a Sunday. It was a fast Sunday. And it was actually a little bit warm, which is not very common. There's not many hot days there. A lot of cold days, and it was sunny. And there's a lot of cold, rainy days, and this was a sunny, hot day. It was a fast Sunday, and we're out, and church finished around 12 or 1. And I think we're going to break our fast around 5 or something. We got started on our fast late the day before for some reason. So, we just had time to go find and to go try to find people to teach. And so we were out on our bikes, and essentially we just picked a road and just biked from person to person, trying to talk to them and share the gospel. And we had about 2 or 3 hours, and we were just on the bikes in the hot sun and just talking to people. And it was exhausting because we were fasting, and that's actually that's a lot of what you do is you're out and you just talk to people on the street, and that's the work for the most part. And it was great. I loved it. But this day was a little bit hot. And so we're going around, we're talking to people, and we had some good experiences. We got some people's phone numbers, and we gave out some books from Mormon, and it was good, but nothing too crazy. And like I said, we're out 2 or 3 hours. I don't know how many people we would talk to, maybe 40 or 50 people. So we done that, and we actually had a van at the time, and so we threw our bikes in the back of the van, and we had planned to go see a lady that was less active. And we're just going to go stop by and see if we could maybe set up an appointment with her. And so we're driving. I'm actually driving. I'm driving down the road, and I'm going up a hill, and I see a woman and her son walking hand in hand up the road and on the sidewalk. They call it the pavement. It's the sidewalk. And they're walking up the pavement, and I had a feeling you need to talk to them. And I hadn't really had that too often before, and so I said, okay, I threw the car over to the side of the road, threw it in the park, and hopped out and ran down the road to go talk to him. And we had probably a 15 or 20 minute conversation with Louise. Her name was Louise. Her son's name was Connor. And we were able to talk about the Holy Ghost and how the Holy Ghost can guide and direct us. She was concerned for her family because there's some bad things that go on, and they were in a little bit of a rougher neighborhood. She was concerned about her son and her daughter, and so we talked about the Holy Ghost and the role it can play in helping us make decisions and guiding us, and we talked about baptism actually, and right there on the street we invited her to be baptized, and on a date about a month and a half later, and she was baptized on that day. And that story just shows me how important it is to have the Spirit in our lives, and how truly it's God's work and it's not ours. I talked to thousands of people on my mission, thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and I was very, very grateful to be able to see many of them baptized. But for me, just to be able to feel the Spirit and know that I need to talk to that woman. Like I said, I'd been on the street for 2 or 3 hours before that, just doing my best to talk to everybody. But God knew his daughter, Louise Hadley, and he knew that she needed the gospel. And luckily, we were able to be an instrument in his hands to find her with his help. I know that the Spirit can play a role in our lives as we live worthily, as we actively seek it, and that as we do that, it'll guide and direct us and help us do things that we would never be able to do on our own. So I'm very grateful for that experience. It was truly a great one. The other experience I want to share is an experience of a young man named Daniel Liu, and this was actually my fifth area. That was my fourth area. No, this was my fifth area. So that was my fourth area. This is my fifth area. I was in Coventry, and we worked a lot on a university campus called Warwick University. Worked around it, and we met a young man named Daniel Liu. He was studying there from China. He was studying economics. He had about a year left. He was doing a master's degree. And he was this amazing. He was so smart, and he had so much talent, and and so much care and love. When he first came to church, he was reaching out to the members. The members weren't reaching out to him, but he was going and talking to them and being friendly. And this is a great young man. And he learned so quickly, and he picked it up so quickly, and he felt the Spirit so readily. And so he was working towards baptism, and he wanted to be baptized. But he had a few concerns, and one of them was that he was afraid that if he went back to China that there would be some negative consequences. And he'd actually done some research, and he found out about some religious group that in China, I don't know, it was probably 20 or 30 years ago, that was actually exterminated in China. And so he read this and he thought, man, if I do this, I could die if I go back to China. And so that was a legitimate concern. He felt like that if he was baptized, that there was a chance that he would die. I was, wow. Okay. We tried to address it, and we did our best and to assure him that he would be okay, and that it was the right thing to do. And but again, it it was in the back of his mind. And when he was interviewed to be baptized, because like I said, he did want to be baptized. He just had this kind of one concern. And when he was interviewed, he told the missionary, our district leader at the time, that he didn't feel like he was ready. And so it was at the church. It was after church actually. And so our district leader poked his head out the door and he said, "Hey guys, can you come here?" And so we went and into the room where he was being interviewed. And it was our district leader, Daniel, and my companion and I. And we said, "Daniel, what's going on? Like, we heard you feel like you're not ready, and we know you are. We know that you've been keeping the commandments, and you have a testimony." And he just said that he had this concern about, like I said, that he maybe die if he went back, and also that he just didn't feel like he was ready. And I think he was just saying that because of this other concern. And so we talked to him for 5 or 10 minutes and shared some scriptures with him. And I actually had a convert in one of my previous areas that we were able to call from China as well. And he was actually able to speak to him in Chinese for 5 or 10 minutes, which is really, really cool. But we did all this, and he was still he just wasn't quite there yet. And I loved Daniel so much, and it was so great, and I knew that this was the right thing for him to do. And we were sitting there thinking. It was kind of quiet, and my companion said, "Let's pray about it. Daniel, would you pray about it? And let's pray about it right here." And so we all got on our knees, and Daniel offered a prayer, and he asked if he should be baptized. And we sat there on our knees with our eyes closed for probably 2-3 minutes after he finished his prayer. And the Spirit was so strong. It's an experience I'll never, ever forget that experience. It was so strong. And Daniel eventually looked up, and he said with joy, yes. And he almost was bursting with joy because he felt the Spirit so much, and he knew it was the right thing to do. And I just I'm so grateful for that experience. And again, this shows how much it's the Lord's work and it's not ours. We talked to him for 5 or 10 minutes. We did everything we could do, but truly it was the Lord. And I mean, obviously we all need our own experiences. We all have to have our own testimony, and the Lord is the only one that can do that for us. And Daniel had an experience that he'll never forget that day. And every time he struggles or feels to give up, he'll be able to think back on that experience and think back about how God had answered his prayers. And I'm just so grateful that I was able to be there for it. And that's what I found, looking back on my mission, that it wasn't me. It was the Lord, and I was very, very blessed and to be able to be a part of it. I had front row seats to seeing the Lord do his work. And it was a great, great experience. So those are 2 stories that come to mind. There's countless others, but that was Louise and Daniel. So my testimony is this. I know that you're going to be part of a great work, that it's truly the greatest thing you could ever be a part of. That is the Lord's work. As I've said several times, it's not ours, but truly it's his, and that he loves his children. He knows them better than he knows us better than we know ourselves. And as you go out on your mission, it'll change you, and you'll have many, many great experiences. And like I said, it's going to be hard, but so worth it. And I know that as you show faith, that there will be miracles. I know that God is a God of miracles, and that you'll have the opportunity to see many. So have a journal. Be ready to write in it, because you'll have a lot of experiences as you show faith. You'll see the hand of the Lord, and your testimony will grow. I know that Jesus Christ is the Savior of the world. Before my mission, I had a testimony of Joseph Smith. I knew that this was the Lord's work, but I'll be honest, I don't know that I never really understood Jesus Christ and how he played a role in our lives. And but I gained a testimony of Jesus Christ on my mission. I know that he lives, and that he is the head of the church, and that as we go through struggles and trials, that he's there with us, and that he suffered in the Garden of Gethsemane, and that he broke the bands of death. So that's my testimony.